In this video we're going to go through a bunch of things that we can do with strings in Python. So we'll start up VS Code. And we're going to go to our Python folder. Okay, so here I've got this Jupyter notebook that's called strings.ipynb. Remember that we're doing all this stuff with Jupyter notebooks, and this file extension for that is ipynb. And I've just got a couple of strings in here that I didn't want to type them whilst making this video, so remember we have to put the cursor in the box and then we press Shift and Enter, and it evaluates those lines, but it doesn't typically print anything when you assign to a variable. But if we just do question, now it'll tell us what the question was. Okay, so there's a string. So what can we do with it? I mean, one thing we could ask is, what's the length of this string? So that one, length is a function. So we just do len in brackets question, and it'll tell us the length, which is 53. But as well as kind of functions like len that we can do from the outside, there's also things called methods. So methods are kind of attached to the string itself. So instead, if we want to convert this question to uppercase, say, notation is like this. So because it's like a method instead of a normal function, it goes after the string that it applies to with a dot, and then the word, and then the brackets around it, because there's no extra argument. So we can do that, and it gives us the thing, the string converted to uppercase. And notice it hasn't actually changed the original string. It's given us a new one. If we do question, the original question is still in lowercase, but now that was the uppercase thing here. And another thing we might want to do is to count, say, something in the string. We could count the A's. So let's do. So this is a method with an extra argument. So again, it's like the method name comes afterwards, and then extra argument, which is the thing we're trying to count, which goes in the brackets there. So it tells us here there's 5 A's. Okay, you could check by hand if you want to. Okay, so a whole bunch of different methods, and it's a bit hard maybe to remember what they all are. One thing you can do, right? I mean, so because we're doing this in the IDE, we can just do a dot. Okay, and so we do a dot, and then we're just going to get a list of possible. Here's all the possible methods. So we can look through those. So there's this method question the partition here. So maybe we don't remember don't know what that means, but we can just click on it there, and we can hover over it, and that will give us a description of exactly what that function does. And also, of course, part of what you're supposed to learn to do here is to find information efficiently. We can so we can just go on the web to find information about these things. So we're here. Let's try this here. So I just do Python string functions. Okay, there's a couple of things. So the first result is for W3 schools, and the second one is the kind of official Python documentation. Okay, the official Python documentation, well, that's kind of going to be sort of very complete and sometimes somewhat more technical than you might want, but all the information you might possibly want about these string functions is on this page. Well, W3 schools page, typically a bit less complete, a bit less technical. You might find that easier to read. Or if you want to do it just kind of within the IDE, as we've got here, okay. Well, let's say so. Firstly, let's look at this keyword, this function called type. Okay, so that will tell us what type of thing question is, and it says str, right? So that's kind of officially the string type in Python is called str rather than string. But So we could, if we want help about that, we can type help str, and it gives me a bunch of help. Or I could have kind of done this in one. I could have just done a help type question here. So let's do that. So it gives us a bunch of stuff, but actually if you look down here, it tells us that it hasn't really shown us everything. This is only because there's little dots here, there's a whole bunch in the middle. So we click here, it says scrollable element. Now it gives us a scroll box in which contains information about all these possible methods. So that's another thing that you could do. Okay, so but we don't want to look at all that in a minute, so let's actually just click these three dots here. What's what I wanted? I have to click here, right? Click here. Yeah. Okay. So now I've collapsed the output, so don't have to look at that anymore. And then this one here, clear that cell. Okay. So yeah, if I wanted to bring this back, then I just click again there. It comes back, and then hide. Okay. Another thing that's useful is slicing. Slicing is a very powerful thing we can do with strings. So if we do question, let's say 5:7, okay, so that's giving us the word is, right? So that's giving us this substring here. So let's just think about these numbers. So we always start in Python at 0. So this capital W here is character 0. Then HAT here 1, 2, 3. The space is character 4. And the I is character 5, and the S is character 6, and the space is character 7. We've left out the space. That's because this kind of thing is very standard in Python. With a range like this, you always kind of include the left-hand end and not the right-hand end. So 5 to 7 means 5 and 6, but not 7. So we get these characters 5 and 6, which are the I and the S. And there's a bunch of kind of variants on this slicing thing. One thing we can do is -8 colon. Okay, so that says swallow, right? So -8 means character 8 counting from the end. So that gives us the S. And then I put a colon. There's nothing after the colon. So if I don't specify an endpoint, then we just go all the way to the end, all the way to the very end of the string. So slicing -8 colon just gives us from the end, it gives us 8 characters coming from the end, which gives us the word swallow together with a question mark. So then there's some spaces in this string. So let's try and work out where the spaces are. Okay. Okay. So one thing is to notice is if you just want a single character, you can just do it like this. The 9th character, I can just do question 9. And so if I want to test whether the 9th character is a space, then I can do this double equal space, and it tells me, well, the 9th character, remember that was an H, so that's not a space. Okay, so then we want to check which positions are spaces. So I'm going to have a look whether the ith character is a space for I in the appropriate range. So what is the appropriate range? Well, you want to sort of start from 0 and go all the way up to however many characters there are in the string. So so we get I is 0 up to the range up to the length of the question, but -1 if you think about it. It's the way the indexing works, because we start with 0, then we if we just did we should stop just before the number of characters. Okay, so here we've got a list. This is a list of which tells us whether each character is a space or not. That's not really what we wanted. Okay, so what we want instead, we want the positions. So we're going to say I in range. Yeah, so this will just go. If I just do that, then it just gives us the numbers 0 up to 52. But we we can add this condition on the end. So we say I for I in this range if the ith character is a space. Okay, so this gives us these eight different positions which are spaces. We can just go and check that here. You see this is 0, 1, 2, 3. The T is position 3. That space is position 4. And 5 and 6 are the I and the S. And 7 is space again, so it's 4 and 7, and so on. So this kind of business here, where we put this I in range thing, and then an if clause on the end. That's called list comprehension. There'll be a separate video with more examples of that. Another thing we might want to check is, whether a particular word or something is in the question. So we can just do that like this. Do city in question. So not city, but string city. We have to put quotes around it. You can do single quotes or double quotes. It actually doesn't really matter here, with some technical differences that we might discuss later. So city in question, is it? If you go look in here, well, actually, city is in the question, not really as a separate word, but as part of the word velocity. So city that is in the question. Very good. And I'll try something else. Is there a velociraptor? No, there's the word velociraptor doesn't appear in the question. So another thing we might want to do is you want to reverse the string, turn it around. For this particular string, there's not really much sense in doing that, but let's just try and do it anyway. So here's the thing we might try to do. It's kind of natural to guess that there should be a method called reverse. But we get an error message out of this. There is no attribute reverse yet. So we have to think of a different way to do it. If we don't know, you could just go back to Bard and ask Bard. Or you could just do a Google search, or you could ask Bard, whichever you prefer. And so it tells you a bunch of different methods, but the first one is by far the simplest. It's this thing :-1. So let's go back to here. And we do. Okay, so there you go. It's taken the string and reversed it. So what's going on here, right? What is this :-1 thing? It's we just do a double colon, it just gives us the original string back. You see, this is like a slicing thing, like we did up here previously, just getting us. I guess we've lost it now, but remember if you did. Question 7:12, or maybe do it 8:11, say, so that gives us the word the. Okay, so it doesn't really matter whether I put the colon in there or not, so that's a certain substring. And if I put in a -1 on the end, then it just does it backwards. Well, except that for doing it backwards, I have to reverse the kind of things here. So 11 to 8 with a -1. In fact, the endpoints change slightly now. It should be 10 to 7 with a -1. That gives us the backwards. Okay, and if I do :7 -1, then that gives me, that's kind of starts at the end. And if I take out that 7 there, so it starts the end, goes back to the beginning, and so that's actually, the -1s are says to doing it in steps of space -1. So this goes from the end back to the beginning in steps of -1. In other words, it reverses the string. A couple of other things we might like to do. You can change So that was, let's look at this fox again. And so there's this string, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So this is a kind of famous string in the sense that it contains every letter of the alphabet exactly once. So let's see if we can check in Python that it really contains every letter of the alphabet precisely once. So firstly, we ought to just sort of make an alphabet for ourselves. So there's this function cur, which produces single characters. Right? So cur is 100, the 100th character is D. This is this so-called ASCII code, or beginning of Unicode. So all the letters of the alphabet and other standard symbols, they all have these code numbers, but somewhere between 0 and 256. And code for little d is 100. Code for B is 98. Code for A is 97. So if we want to make all the letters of the alphabet, so you're going to do character I plus 97 plus I, for I in range 26. Okay, so that gives us all the 26 letters of the alphabet in order. Okay, but we don't want now it's giving us these as a list, and we really want it as a combined string. So, so the way we do that is a little bit weird. I mean, we take the empty string, join around here. So what does it mean? So we're taking the empty string and you're using that as the joining thing. So join together all these characters with an empty string in between. And that gives us just the alphabet. I mean, we could do, if we put in a different string there, then that would be used as a separator. We get all the letters of the alphabet with double dash in between them. That's not what we want. We just want them joined with nothing in between. Okay, so I'm going to call this ABC. Okay. Okay, so now let's check whether all of these guys are actually in in our string. So so we do a loop, kind of list comprehension. So it's 4x in ABC, so that means it's going to run over x is going to be all the possible letters of the alphabet, and then for each one we test whether it's in this fox string. Okay, and we look down here, and it says they're all true. Okay, so we see that every letter has appeared, but actually we'd rather not sort of have to sort of check through the list by eye. It's better if we use the function called all. So this function called all checks the list of true, false values and checks whether they're all true. So this checks that this fox string really is a pangram, So let's make this into a function, because it's generally better to do these kinds of things sort of with functions that we can apply to more than one string if we want to. So we're going to define a function is pangram, and okay, so I'm going to put in a doc string. It's a good practice always to document your functions by putting in a doc string. So then we're going to kind of just copy more or less what we wrote here. So we have to make the alphabet again, and then we check whether all these letters appear in the string. But actually, it's better if we should really, because we've only put in the lowercase letters in our alphabet, it's better if we convert the string that we're supposed to be testing into lowercase first. Okay, so so that's going to calculate the right answer, but then remember this is a function. We need to actually return the value from the function. So so we could do the same thing again, check whether our Fox string is a pangram, and it says true. And we could do this, actually when I first typed this I kind of forgot how it's supposed to go and I put jumped instead of jumps. And you see that's false because now there's no S in the string. We have to make it jumps to give us the S back, and now it's a pangram game. So that's a bunch of different things we can do with strings, and that will do for this video.